Hello, Year 13. I hope you're all well. This is Miss Wills here, and I'm going to be going through the lessons this week on live theatre. Last week, I set you a task to come up with your own kind of concept and idea for a play about this year. I would like you to make sure that you have that sent to me, your ideas sent to me by Friday, please. We will be moving on this week to looking at the live theatre section of your exam. Now, I know during the holidays, Miss sent you work to watch a performance on digital theatre and to complete a few tasks on that and make some notes. Now, I do hope most of you or all of you have managed to do that, but don't panic if you haven't, because you've got this week to catch up with that. So, looking at your written exam and how it's structured, how it's laid out. So you've got the section A, which is the live theatre evaluation, which is what we're focusing on these next couple of weeks. Section B, which is on Colder Than Here, and then finally you've got section C on voice check. Section C we will be coming back to after we finish with live theatre evaluation. So if you feel like you're not too comfortable or confident with that, don't worry, we will be coming back to that soon. But we will be focusing on the live theatre evaluation this week. Now, the first thing I need you guys to do, if you haven't looked at a performance, haven't watched a performance for whatever reason on digital theatre, make sure that is your priority and that is what you do this week. And that's the first thing you do. So I will email the login details to you. All you will need to do for me is to choose a performance, because of course we can't actually go and see live theatre at the moment, so you are allowed to watch it on digital theatre. And firstly, I want you to make some notes, and I'm going to go through how you do that in this lesson. So for this type of question, what you need to demonstrate your understanding of is you need to talk about one or more of the theatre makers for your production. So you can discuss the director, the performers, and also the designer as well. The two key things you need to do and skills that you need to be able to use throughout your evaluation is obviously answer the question, which is really, really important. And we're going to have a look at some typical questions on the next slide. But you need to analyze, so that's picking out your key ideas, concepts, if you're looking at specific aspects of performance, such as the acting, the sound, the lighting, but being able to see how they've been explored and, what kind of key ideas it's bringing across as well. And then evaluation, which is really important, is you need to form a judgment about whether you think the element has actually worked and do you think it was effective. You yourself being the audience, do you think it had its desired effect? How did you react to that moment that you're discussing? So they're the two things that you need to have in mind throughout watching the performance, so that when you come to write about it, you've got those notes down. So here's some typical questions that have been asked on the papers. Now, what you do need to know is you will have a choice of two questions as well, which is quite nice. What I'd like you to do right now is I just want you to pause this clip and spend a moment just reading through these questions. I'd like you to highlight a question that you think, actually, I think that's pretty straightforward. I wouldn't mind answering that. And then I'd like to highlight a question you think, actually, that's quite a challenging question. I wouldn't quite know how to start answering that question. So just pause this and highlight those two for me. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to highlight the two there, and we'll be coming back to that next week when we look at structure and response. Now, when you're watching your performance, and it is a good idea to re-watch it, I would say this week as well, and you are making your notes, you do need to focus on the following things. So if you're looking at the theatre maker, the director, okay, you need to be discussing the style, the staging, the audience, the choice of theatre, the style of theatre, the use of text, practitioner influence, and their concept as well. So basically all the things that you've had to take into account when for the voice check question and section of the exam paper that you have to consider. So you become the director for that question. You've had to come up with your own concept for that. So that's the kind of thing you'd be looking at, what concepts have been used in this performance. They need to be obviously looking at the performers and analysing and evaluating that. So looking at acting style, movement, physicality, vocals, facial expressions, etc. So make sure you've got these subheadings down. So when you watch your performance, and it can be whatever performance you like that you can find on digital theatre, you can make notes under each of these things. How have they done it? What is it trying to emphasise? Has it been successful? What kind of impact does it have on the audience? Those kind of questions. And the designer, so commenting on the set itself, the overall set, what it looks like, the lighting, the sound, costume, stage makeup, props, etc. So they're the three kind of key theatre makers you need to focus on, and within those, these are the little subheadings. So as I say, you are able to make and take in notes into the exam, and it's 500 words max you're able to take in. So obviously you've got to make sure that your notes are really, really useful, whatever you do have down. And to make a start for this, if you haven't done already, and I realise some of you may have actually done this over the holidays, I would like you to make sure that you have your notes written down and ready essentially for the end of the week. So I would like you to send me your notes, a picture of your notes, or if you've typed them up, send me the document by the end of the day on Friday for me, please. And these are the kind of things I would like you to include in your notes: the name of the performance, the venue, the date. And then when you're thinking about productions, we need the key names as well, so when you refer to them, you will have it then. You won't have to remember them. And then the performance, and underneath all of these subheadings, I want you to make clear notes: the acting stars, the lighting, set and stage, costume and props, etc. So the one thing that you may have questions about is this idea of audience. Okay, obviously the exam board understand that at the moment you cannot go and see a live production, therefore actually view an audience interaction, you may not necessarily do that as well on digital theatre. But I just want you to think about who are the audience, or were the audience for that production primarily, and also think of yourself as the audience. How have you reacted? How do you react as the audience to specific scenes, and how specific techniques have been used there? So what I would like you to do is make sure those notes, so you've watched your performance. If you've already done it, I would say rewatch the performance and just make sure you've got all the notes you need. And I want you to have those notes completed, and I want you to send them to me by the end of the day on Friday. So you've got this week to make sure you've done that. That's the first task I would like you to complete. The second task I'd like you to complete, and for some of you this may be the only task because you've already written your notes, you've already watched your performance, I would like you to write a review about the performance that you've looked at. So it's getting down your overall, your initial reactions to the play, and analysis and evaluation of it. In order to write your review, obviously use your notes that you've already got. That will help a lot. But I don't want this review just to be half a page. I want it to be quite an in-depth review, because what you're going to be writing down is really going to be helpful for you and be something that you can use for whatever question really comes up in your exam. So writing a review. So now you've got your notes on your chosen performance, I'd like to write in-depth review of the show. And these are the kind of things I want you to include. So your overall thoughts and impressions of the play, and analyse the impact of these three different aspects of the performance, or three different theatre makers. So that would be three separate paragraphs. Do you think it had the desired effects? So you're analysing their use of acting, set, props, etc. Did it work? What kind of messages did it highlight? what kind of relationships between characters that highlight those sorts of things. And finally, discuss your favourite moment of the play and why you thought it was so powerful. What key themes did it highlight and what message did it get across? Now, I've just broke down the overall layout of your in-depth review. Okay, so I need this to be at least, I'd say, a side and a half of A4 paper. So layout, so I want your introduction as the overall impression of performance for each of the three paragraphs. So a paragraph on a different aspect of the performance, and these are the kind of things you need to talk about. Was it successful? Did it highlight any key themes? What was the impact on audience, which is you? And try to think about at least one element of performance that you think could have been improved on possibly and why. And then for your final paragraph, it's your favourite scene, talking about the impact and the message again, and of course, conclusion, if you could just give it a star rating at the end. So, key things to take from this lesson, guys, is this week what you need to have done for our lesson next Friday is you need to have re-watched a performance, or if you haven't done already, make sure you do. And as I say, I will send the details for digital theatre via email to you. I need you to make sure you've completed your notes as you've been watching, and I want those notes sent to me by the end of the day this coming Friday. So by the end of this week, I want those notes sent to me either via Teams or email. Then by next Friday, so that's a week on Friday, I would like this review completed. So you've got a little bit longer for this review. So this Friday, your notes, next Friday, your review submitted. If you want to submit your review before that, you can, if you finished it earlier or if you've already got your notes, therefore you can spend the time writing this review. If you've got any questions about the work I've set, guys, or any issues accessing digital theatre or anything like that, please let me know straight away. Don't wait till next week to tell me, because I will be wondering why I haven't had any emails. Okay, thank you very much for listening, guys, and good luck with the work.